Only on 7 News.
What experts tell Channel 7 doesn't count.
The Call 7 investigators demanding answers. DORA and the Attorney General's office, 2 state agencies charged with responding to your complaints and protecting you from bad businesses and incompetent professionals.
But a series of recent Call 7 investigations uncovered flaws in the system that leave you vulnerable. Call 7 investigator Theresa Marchetta finding government officials mishandled a controversial chiropractic case.
And Theresa, you learned another board is now investigating?
After our investigation, the chiropractic board did clear Brandon Crater, but we just learned the medical board is now looking at him for other possible violations. The overall question here is, are the state's regulators doing their jobs when it comes to keeping consumers safe?
Hey, Mr. Southers, it's Theresa Marchetta.
Make it fast, Theresa.
Hi.
For months, the Call 7 investigators asked to interview public officials like Attorney General John Southers and representatives of the Department of Regulatory Agencies, DORA, about how they protect consumers.
Are you protecting patients or chiropractors?
You know what? We protect the public.
We were denied interviews, so we had to talk with them in a public place.
Really, the buck stops with you, right?
Dr. Chad Abercrombie is president of the State Board of Chiropractic Examiners, a DORA board responsible for investigating complaints.
Not really, no. It stops with the board.
That board, working with the Attorney General's office, filed 25 counts against chiropractor Brandon Crater's license, including misleading advertising and practicing outside the scope after a Call 7 investigation.
But the hearing didn't even finish. I mean, there were 25 counts and it was over in a week.
And that's best. It's best to go through the assistant AG and DORA with that.
After what was expected to be 2 weeks of proceedings, the case settled after just 6 days, and that chiropractor was cited for 1 count of poor record keeping. Patients wanted us to find out what regulators did in the case.
Somebody needs to regulate DORA and the Attorney General's office.
What I have a lot of citizens of Colorado who have asked us to get answers, who don't understand.
Southers blamed part of the weakness of the cases attorneys put together on the patients who came forward.
Interestingly enough, a lot of the people who came to you never came forward when we were looking for witnesses.
But they did come forward, 18 formal complaints according to DORA records. We wanted to know if this is typical of how the state handles your complaints. So we pulled state records on the 2,500 licensed chiropractors in Colorado and found since 2007 there have been 540 complaints, resulting in 463 investigations. But the vast majority, 73% of those cases, were dismissed. And we discovered the board rarely revokes or suspends a license, just 13 times over 5 years. In the remaining cases, the consequences were minimal, such as letters of admonition. Since dismissed complaints aren't public, it's impossible to know what happened in all the hundreds of cases. But in the Crater case, the AG's attorneys made a basic mistake.
And I tell clients that when they say, do I have a case? I say, I won't know that until I talk to a doctor who is in this field.
Kevin Mahoney, an attorney specializing in medical malpractice, is one of several experts telling the Call 7 investigators you can't win a case like this if you don't have an expert in the same specialty or with the same training testify. We reviewed hundreds of pages of records and found in the Crater case the state never called a qualified chiropractor.
What I say doesn't matter. It's what the expert witness in that field says. It's kind of a common sense thing, at least in what I do, that you can't start your case without that.
There are experts who look at this and say that there was a rookie mistake made here, that in establishing this case from the very beginning, there should have been another chiropractor.
What experts tell Channel 7 doesn't count.
It's an issue even pointed out by Crater's own attorney during the licensing hearing.
We talked to a lot of experts, and it was their inability to produce the type of testimony that was necessary that was a big factor in the case.
You have
no clue.
Actually, we broke the story. We weren't late in the game.
You have no clue what experts were consulted.
Well, we'd like to have a clue. We'd like to understand.
You're not entitled to know that.
Well, you know what? The citizens of Colorado are entitled to know that. They are entitled.
No, that's...
They came to you for help and for protection. They came to you for...
And we did the best job we could.
To seek justice.
Regardless of who was consulted, the transcripts show a chiropractor wasn't called, despite the AG's office spending more than 3,000 hours on the case. All of that time paid for by tax dollars. DORA tells us it settled to avoid costly litigation.
This is very shoddy work on the part of a regulatory agency and on the part of the Attorney General.
We talked with Senate President-elect John Morse, who has tried to introduce legislation to better protect patients in the wake of our investigation, and says he'll do it again next session.
Maybe we should not be funding the Board of Chiropractic. I mean, if this is what they do, it's a waste of the taxpayers' money. To heck with it.
The state maintains it did its job properly.
We did the best job we could on behalf of the Chiropractic Board. Thank you very much. That's it.
And that's it for this case. So patients who try to file complaints now are being turned away by the state. Crater didn't return our calls for comment on the current medical board investigation, but publicly maintains he is innocent and he continues to practice. Meantime, the medical board is taking action against an Ohio doctor we learned was writing prescriptions for Crater's patients in violation of state regulations. Dr. Jim Smith sent a cease and desist order recently as a result of our investigation. I'm Call 7 investigator Theresa Marchetta.
All right, Theresa, we know you'll stay on top of this. If you have a story idea for the Call 7 investigators, call 303-832-7777 or send an email to call7@thedenverchannel.com.